Well, I was doing my research on you. It appears you're a middle name guy. Is that correct?
Correct.
So, could you give me some? I'm always interested because it seems like it's a family name. Your first
Yes.
name. What is it? How far back does it go?
It is my great grandmother's maiden name.
Okay.
And I'm a third.
And a third. Yeah, I saw that it was. And when I looked back and I saw on a couple articles that was again O'Neill, correct?
Yes.
And do you remember the impetus of that, or is it?
Nope. It's something that my great grandma and some of my grandpa's family wanted to pass on that, that family name, and added his first name James or first name O'Neill. Her brother had a first name of James, and
that was it.
That was it.
That's awesome. So that's really interesting. Again, that's one of the things I love about this show. I get to learn some pretty interesting stuff there.
Yeah, none of us went by our first name.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, we'll get to talk about more about that in a minute here. So, so with that, where are you from originally?
Scottville.
Okay,
born and raised.
Born and raised. So you did your full time there at Mason County Central.
Yep. All the way through.
So what'd your family do there?
Well, my grandpa, Newkirk, came here. My grandma was raised here as well. She attended Scottville, along with some of her family. And then after they were married, my grandpa moved here. He taught a year at Custer, and then came to Scottville for the next 38 years. Okay,
so we scared him out of Custer. Is what you're saying? So
well, yeah, kind of. But they lived right on the highway and raised 4 kids right there, and who all went to Scottville. And then my dad grew up here and stayed here. He taught in Hart for 41 years. Okay, and my sister and I grew up right outside of town. And went to Scottville as well.
So what did your grandpa teach?
Social studies.
Social studies?
All the way through. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then as far as your dad down in Hart.
Same.
Same was social studies?
Yep. Yeah, all 3 of us went to school, certified to teach social studies. And, their careers lasted a few decades longer than mine. But
yeah, no worries.
But yeah, that was pretty much the
So again, you mentioned social studies, but what was it like, did you enjoy school?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I probably didn't work as hard as I probably should have. I did real well, but it having 2 teachers. My mom taught at Scottville as well for 2 different stints for quite a few years. Okay. And so having parents and grandparents as teachers, I really didn't have a choice not to do well. I would have had to work harder not to do well than to do well.
Yeah, I've already said you get beat up no matter where you went. Right. So right. I imagine holiday dinners were conversations and across the board.
Oh yeah, because all aunts, uncles, cousins, the large majority of all of them are in education.
And I see that there's families that are just teaching families. Yep. They've got that gene in them that they want to be able to share and grow and develop people, share information and whatnot. So that's it's not surprising here. So if you're just joining us, you're talking with Jimmy Newkirk, the Scottville City Manager. I'm Ryan Howe. This is Leading West Michigan, and the show is all about learning about our guest leadership journey. And so we're talking about your time at Scottville there. So you mentioned social study, but was that your preferred, you really enjoyed that line, or was there another? Did you like the sciences?
I really never really thought about it. That was just what I was going to do. I enjoyed it. I grew up in it. History and being involved in, what was going on and what built our state and country and things. That was all just part of life. So I really didn't think about doing anything else.
So you knew from an early age that your time at school was basically just a placeholder until you were able to get to college. So.
Yeah, I was just... I knew where I was going to go and I knew what I wanted to do, and that was about it. Okay.
So, did you do any sports while you were
in school? I played, 3 or 4 sports in middle school because I wanted to be active and I liked participating. And we got to high school, and did my best to follow the family tradition, play football, but that wasn't for me because I was real thin, and it just wasn't my thing. So I moved to cross country and track. And ran cross country and track for all 4 years.
What did you specialize in? Were you a distance runner in track too? Or
no, mostly hurdles.
Mostly hurdles? Yep. Okay. So, and you mentioned cross country as well. That's interesting. So you got hurdles and also cross country. That's 2 completely different muscles.
Pretty much, yeah.
that transit. So you basically had the winter to get basically trained
and
over?
I was doing a lot of band at the same time. I was in band and jazz band and doing some other...
What'd you play?
Trumpet.
You're a trumpet guy? Yep. Okay. All right. Which chair?
I was first chair my senior year, second. I kind of moved up. There was a couple of people ahead of me that were each 1 year ahead. So it's like I was in the first not sitting first chair, but playing first part my freshman year, and then just kept moving up a chair at a time until my senior year.
By attrition, you got them.
Pretty much.
I like it. So, all right. So again, spend time on social. Any team sports, or was it because mostly track and cross country, it's individual as a team.
No, I think my freshman year I played basketball also, and that I would rather be in the band.
Okay.
I didn't get a lot of playing time, but it wasn't. There were better players. That was just the way it was. It wasn't any negativity or anything like that. It was like I'd rather be on the stage with playing with the pep band during games than sitting on the bench. So that was I chose what I liked to do rather than what anybody wanted me to do or anything. It was like I had the options to do multiple things, and so I chose what I wanted to do and had fun with it.
Yeah, and that's one of my things that I do like about again, Scottville's not a large school, obviously bigger in Custer, but you have options to give stuff a try.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
That's one of the things that I do like about the smaller schools is that there's enough room for if you want to give it a try. They typically don't have basically they're not cutting down to size per se, so you can give anything a try and just find out if it's for you or not. So and then on the flip side, like in Custer, we just need everyone every time to do everything. So.
I know.
So okay, was there any were there any coaches or teachers that you remember outside of family, mind you? Mm-hmm. We don't want to bring up trauma. We want to talk about, but that had that type of impact on you that helped you, solidify the fact that you wanted to go to school for teaching or.
Well, actually the coach that influenced me the most is I walked onto the track team at Grand Valley my freshman year.
Okay.
And honestly, I had no business walking on the track team, but I liked to run, and I wasn't the best in high school at anything I ran. But, I was close, and it was something I liked to do. And so I thought, what the heck? Let's see what happens. Mm-hmm. And the coach there was Pete Rowe at the time. It was the only year that I ran there, and the last year he was there. And he just had a really cool story and a really cool history of his own upbringing and running and things. And so we just kind of melded, and we did some fundraisers and things that like raising bingo, or, working bingo to raise track uniforms and stuff. And I'd already done that in my youth, and so we just kind of blended. And he took a liking to me, and so I was able to travel, but I had to run whatever position was open. They only took the top two.
Okay.
And so when it was time to travel, he'd say, "This is the spot I have." And in my freshman year, between indoor and outdoor, I ran everything except the 50-meter dash and the 10,000.
Oh, okay.
I ran everything from like the 100 to the 3,000 steeplechase, and had a blast. A lot of them are harder than others, but it was just something I got to run like every distance and long distance steeplechase in a snowstorm in northern Indiana. I got enough points to earn my letter, so it wasn't like I was dragging, the last one all the way around the track or anything like that. But that was a really great experience for me and watching how he interacted with the athletes. He got everybody involved, and also took some of those, athletes like myself that was kind of maybe lagging toward the middle or back, but still made time and said, hey, made sure that they were involved, make sure that they found some success somehow, that was really his doing to find those pieces and parts and spots to put me, so I could have a little success of my own.
And it was Pete Rowe, you said, right?
Pete Rowe.
Oh, that's great. So for those who don't know, what is steeplechase?
So steeplechase is 3,000 meters. And you have the large barricades similar to a horse when you run around the track, and you have the huge 6x6 or 4x4 barricades go all the way across the track. And you kind of hurdle them, but after a few laps, you just get over them any way you can. And then on the inside of the corner is when there's an extra part of the track where you cut in and you go over one of the barricades, and then you have the water pond or water, tank on the other side. And the first couple laps, most people can clear the water tank. You go up on the barricade and then over. Then afterward, you just don't care.
You're just splashing.
You're just splashing and trying to get over. And but it's kind of a blast because you get bunched up. You're trying to go over barricades. It's you'll get some cuts in your legs from other people's spikes and
I'm sure
and things. And it's just kind of a cool race where you get in there and kind of rub around for a while and
So with
make
that,
it through.
so is that you mentioned the barricade? It's like when it comes to a hurdle, like is same height or
Yeah.
okay? So
Yeah, I think it's 36. I think it's 36 inches.
okay, because
it's been a minute.
in between, because it's one of the ones where like if it's on in the Olympics, I'll stop.
Yeah.
Unlike curling, which I will actually settle in and watch for the entire thing. Then I'm like, oh, steeplechase. This one looks.
Well,
looks
and unlike
interesting.
a hurdle's balanced, so it will tip over if you hit it. Steeplechase is not. It's like a sawhorse. It's just it's there and fixed, and
So you give, it doesn't give.
you give. Yeah, you have to go over it. You're not going around it.
Okay.
Or it's one solid piece.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Because, it's one thing when I always watched it, I was like, well, this is pretty. It's kind of like, the biathlon where they're the cross country skiing and then they shoot stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is an interesting thing. And then they just threw water in there just for reasons. So we're continuing our conversation with Jimmy Newkirk, the Scottville City Manager, and just hearing about, again, Pete Rowe, basically a coach that had a huge impact on not just his life, but others as well.
Oh, yeah.
So, you mentioned you knew from a very early age that you were going to be going into, obviously going to college and get your teaching. How did that color your decision making that you had during high school, where typically high school is about, hey, you want to try to figure out what you want to do, like the counselors are talking with you and teachers are there, and you're just like, nah, I know where I'm going.
Yeah.
What was that? I mean, did that make it a little more challenging for you in school, or was it easy? Like, what do you think?
I don't think so. I always kind of felt that that's just what I was going to do, and it just kind of seemed like most people around me, whether it was friends or other teachers and things, that nobody was really surprised.
Okay.
And it just wasn't. It really wasn't a thing. Like nobody really came to me and said, "Well, man, you really need to break away and try something new and figure it out for your own." Nobody, I'm not in a negative way. Like nobody encouraged me to do anything else. Everybody just kind of was like, "Oh yeah, well, it makes sense. That's what he's going to do."
All right, fair enough. So with that, what was your and you went to which college?
Grand Valley.
You went to Grand Valley. How did that decision come about that you were going to go to Grand Valley?
I wanted to still be close to home.
Okay.
And at the time, Grand Valley had a good education program, and it will still do have a good education program. And again, it really wasn't a thought. I had considered Central. That's where most of my family went up to that point, and there was just something about Grand Valley that kind of lured me there. And I think at that time it was a smaller school than what it is now, and I just kind of felt that was more my speed or more in tune with what I wanted to be or where I wanted to be. The apartment a couple of years I had, you walk out the back porch into a cornfield, that real similar, to where I grew up here.
Absolutely.
There was crops growing around the school and things else. And I just kind of felt that was more my speed and fit me.
So, and again, you said you did kind of look at CMU. Was there any others, or was it just those two?
That was about it. I really didn't look anywhere else because I knew what I wanted to do.
Gotcha.
And
so how was that transition? Again, you're going from Mason County Central. Now you're going over to Grand Valley in a completely different type atmosphere.
It was a little culture shock. And like I said earlier, I probably didn't work as hard as I probably should have in school. So there was a little bit of wow, this is a lot harder than what I just left. And track practices were 3 hours long, and then I'd lay on the floor of my dorm for an hour wondering what I was doing. And so, my time was a lot more precious, and, there was definitely some struggle, those first years. There was, a couple conversations, report cards came, and it was like, hey,
hey, yo,
you sure you want to do it? You sure you want to do this?
Yeah.
And that was kind of like, I got hurt toward, the end of my freshman year running. And once I wasn't practicing, then the grades came up, and, my dad kind of went, that's great, but what's the real focus here? And so we moved on just focused on my studies from there.
I get that. Again, we're continuing our conversation with Jimmy Newkirk, the Scottville City Manager. Ryan Howe, this is Leading West Michigan, and again, we're learning about Jimmy's leadership journey to his current position. And I've had a few guests on here, and we've talked about that. And I was one of those people too, where school was, high school was what it was. Got through it, and when I got to college, I didn't know how to study.
I didn't
that
either.
was the thing. I remember I had to go and ask I'm like, how do I do this?
Yep.
And in the military, luckily, we had people at the education center, they had a whole class on how to study.
Right.
I was like, I'm taking this thing because I could usually just pick up the book, go through it and be able to, C's get degrees type of thing, right? But yeah, in college, completely different world because for the most part, you're on your own. You got to make it happen. So, so with that, knowing you're going to do social studies, did you have that track? So you're going to be going towards high school level, middle school?
Yep,
what were
secondary.
You're doing secondary.
Yeah, so it would have been 712 at that. The certification was 712 at that time.
Okay, so 712. And what was so now you've obviously been a student. You've had teachers in the family, and now you're going through. And now you're actually going in through the curriculum to learn how to do these things. What was that like actually going through that?
Once I started getting toward the end, I'd had some classes, from my freshman year that the grades weren't where they needed to be, and so I'd retaken a couple, and the School of Ed was very competitive, and so as I looked at it and then talking with my advisor, and she's like, well, you're probably looking at another semester just to retake a couple classes to get into that range where you could get in the School of Ed. And, but that wasn't a guarantee. And she's like, you already have a degree. She says, if you just change your major, your focus within your major, she's like, you're done. You can walk and go somewhere else and do that. And so I ended up graduating at Grand Valley with a degree in political science, emphasizing in campaign management, and which is really what I liked in the first place. But then I went and picked up some classes at Central while I was doing some work, and then Saginaw Valley had an accelerated program, and so you could go. They would put you into a student teaching program where you student taught half a day, substitute taught the other half a day, and got paid for it, and then you took education courses at night. And so I was able to get into that program and taught it. Did my student teaching and substitute teaching at Saginaw Arthur Hill. Okay,
I was going to ask where you went. So
Saginaw Arthur Hill. I had a great time.
What was the size of that school?
Oh, I don't know, a couple thousand.
Okay.
I mean, it was one of the two city high schools in Saginaw.
Okay.
And had a great time. And I given my background and upbringing, I had a great mentor teacher. I think he was in the classroom 2 days and was like, you know what you're doing. I got stuff to do. He was also the baseball coach. So he was last hour of the day, he was always bailing out and going to do something.
Gotcha.
And it just felt natural. I'd watched it so many times. I'd spent days in my grandpa's classroom, when, we'd had a half day in the elementary or middle school or something. I just went over to the high school and I sat in his room, as a little kid, and he drove me home after work, so it wasn't being in the classroom and teaching, and it wasn't any big deal. It just felt like natural. That's
great to hear. Again, it's when you find that thing that just fits right.
Yep.
Definitely good there. So, so with that, we're getting ready to head into our next break here in a little bit. So with that, where did you land after Saginaw?
I was supposed to teach in Saginaw. I'd signed a contract, or hadn't signed a contract, but had verbally agreed to take over for one of the other teachers that had some health issues. And they didn't honor that They didn't honor that agreement. They changed superintendents and had some budget cuts.
Okay.
And I came back to work for a year and then ended up getting a job in Manistee, up in the UP.
Up in Manistee. Okay. And then when we come back, we definitely want to hear what that's all about. So again, that's one of the things too. Also, your ability to pivot. That's one thing I found, especially in an area like this, smaller areas around here. We have this innate ability to say, okay, that's no longer an option. We got to go over here and just make it work. We can, be upset about it or just say, you have your moments of like, man, it'd have been great to have this, but anyways, we got to get on to the next thing that's available to us. So again, you're listening to Leading West Michigan on 102.7 WMOM, at home on your Amazon Alexa or Google Home smart devices, streaming online at WMOM.FM, and live video streams on the 102.7 WMOM Facebook page and WMOM YouTube channel. So let's get into that first break, and when we get back, we get to hear all about Manistee.
Ready to elevate your Monday dining experience? Welcome to Small Plate Mondays at Sticks. Every Monday, all day, we present a curated selection of exquisite small plates, each priced at just $5. Savor the spicy crispy shrimp, jalapeno mac and cheese, and delicious pork pot stickers. Or try our coconut flash fried shrimp, smoked chicken queso chips, and flash fried calamari, all ideal for sharing. Don't limit your culinary adventures to the weekend. Join us at Sticks for $5 small plates every Monday.
Mom's Fridge Magnets are community calendar announcements presented by Watson Motors, West Michigan, CMH, McGee Insurance, and Lakeshore Automotive and Tire. Another fridge magnet comes your way next.
Upgrade your driving experience with Watson Motors. Our service department sets the standard for excellence. Count on us for exceptional care and top-notch service. Drive worry-free at Watson Motors. See the difference today.
Spring is here. Get a quick oil change and a spring checkup for a smoother, happier ride. Visit Lakeshore Automotive and Tire on South James Street in downtown Ludington for quick, reliable service.
The 2024 Manistee Polar Plunge will be Saturday, March 16th from 9 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. at the Little River Casino. The Polar Plunge is an annual event within the Law Enforcement Torch Run for Special Olympics, featuring participation from local law enforcement personnel. If your group or nonprofit organization has an announcement that you would like others to know about, reach out to us and we'll add it for free to the Fridge Magnet program, thanks to Lakeshore Automotive and Tire, McGee Insurance, West Michigan, CMH, and Watson Motors.
It's Leading West Michigan, and we're back with your host, Ryan Howe, on 102.7 WMOM.
All right, welcome back. I'm Ryan Howe from Summit Business Guides, and we're continuing our conversation with Jimmy Newkirk, the Scottville City Manager. And before the break, we were talking about unexpected transition up to Manistee. Yep. What did that look like for you?
It was very similar to here. I mean, it was a small town. Had seen its share of struggles. There was a large paper mill in town. That was the main employer. And, it was making it, but it was barely getting by. So it was, Manistee's also pretty isolated. There isn't anything around for quite a long time, or, 40, 45 miles.
And for folks who don't know, where is Manistee?
Manistee is right at the northern tip of Lake Michigan. Mm-hmm. So it's in the UP, but it's kind of on the northern shore of Lake Michigan. So nice big sandy beach. Thompson, the Christmas tree ship is in there, but it's kind of about 45 miles east of Escanaba.
Okay, got it. So when you get there, what was the work like? What did they have for you as a position?
I was teaching eighth grade history, and which fit right into where I was at. My mom had taught eighth grade English at Scottville for years, and so having the younger kids wasn't any big deal. I coached football at the same time, or I was a JV football assistant coach.
Without having played football?
Yeah.
Okay, so how'd that come about? They needed someone to raise their hand, or what was it?
The job I was replacing, he was the assistant football coach.
Okay.
And so it was kind of tied together, but I'd been a registered official and had been officiating football. I didn't play mostly because of my size.
Gotcha.
And, it just wasn't, I liked it. I just didn't work physically for me.
How long had you been officiating?
I think at that point, probably 5 or 6 years.
Okay. Got it.
And because my dad had officiated forever, and there was a couple crews in the area that were always kind of short, so it was just something I could pick up some extra cash on the weekends, and I enjoyed doing it. I still got to be physical and have some activity and stay moving, but that it flowed right in there, and so that was unique because in that conference up there you're always playing against Iron Mountain and Negaunee and Ishpeming and perennial state title teams. Mm-hmm. At the varsity level, well, if they're playing that way at the varsity level, their lower level teams aren't any pushovers either. And so it was a learning experience because a lot of those, it's a smaller school, and getting participation from kids that don't want to play for a loser, but that's what you had to work with. Mm-hmm. So there was, a couple of years I was there, it's like we only fielded maybe 13, 14 kids. So everybody played. And
everybody was tired.
There was a lot of kids
sore.
that saw every single snap, every single game.
Yeah.
But it was a great experience. You got an opportunity to play in the Superior Dome a game or two, and you could kind of make it fun because if you kind of go in and from a coaching perspective, if you make it fun, the losing doesn't hurt as bad. And you're still learning, you're still trying to make progress, and that's something you want to pass on to the kids too. Is you may not be having success, but if you have fun, that's really kind of the focus of what you're doing.
That was a big part too. And the other experience that I have, because when I was in high school, we were brought over in the co-op to play football at Scottville.
Right.
And I was playing on the junior varsity there, and it was interesting to come over and we didn't have necessarily some of the hangover that the JV had from previous years where they hadn't been doing as well. We came and we started winning, and everyone's like, "This is great." We're like, "Oh, you don't do this normal?" Okay, we had to kind of figure that piece out a little bit. But I tell you, it was but that losing piece. That's one of the reasons that I like sports as a whole, team sports in particular, you understand that you're going to lose sometimes. You may execute all of your plays perfectly and do just great, but sometimes the ball just doesn't fall where it's supposed to. And that isn't a condemnation on you. That's just the way it is.
It's just the way it goes.
And you need to be able to learn from it, get back up and go do it again. So, and in this case, the students there, not only you're getting from teaching, but also from that coaching standpoint. That's where I found really good coaches do that. Like, listen, sometimes it just doesn't happen. You did everything exactly right, and we still lost.
Yeah.
It happens. So, how long how long did you do 8th grade?
2 years.
2 years?
Yep.
Okay. And so what did the transition look like, or what happened there?
I was laid off about 3 days before I was supposed to get married.
Okay.
Yeah, it was great.
I'm not even going to ask how that conversation went. So, in this, what time frame was this?
That was spring of 05.
05. So there were cuts going on around the state as a whole.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it wasn't a great time, and that was kind of the deal at Saginaw. Also, it was like they had to make some serious cuts. They brought in a new superintendent, and he was like, just cutting the slash.
And that was across the board. For those who aren't familiar with that, there was a maybe 4-year span that they had to basically turn over the education budgeting system as a whole and reallocate stuff. And we had some, again, and it's unfortunate, but we had teachers that just didn't make the cut on it. That but offered new opportunities. So
absolutely.
So what did your new opportunity look like?
So when I was getting married, my wife then was working as a ranger in the state park system. And I'd worked summers at the state park out here in Ludington. And every time I seemed to get laid off both times, it was like I went back to the park. And I kind of just thought, well, maybe just do this. And so we did. I got hired in at Ludington as a ranger. And the first couple of years I was there was real nice because you're working seasonally. So we'd work, 3 seasons. I was still able to officiate football locally here. And still participating in sports and doing that thing. But then you had the winters off. And so we were able to travel and do some stuff, and that was kind of cool. But then, we wanted to have a family and start doing that. So I was like, insurance in the winter became a thing. And she found a job in outside of Grand Rapids. And so moved down there. I had carpooled up to Ludington for about a year to finish that out, but then I was able to transfer down to Silver Lake for that summer. But then that was 08. And so now the whole economy is kind of taking a downturn. So crunched some numbers and was like, hey, there's a job at Tequamanon Falls. Cost of living is much lower, but the rate of pay is the same. You can work a longer season. We'd had our first child by now. And so we moved up there. And, like you said, it's like you just make it work. So I was still laid off in the winter, but we were able to make it. We knew time frame when I'd be called back. She'd had a job part-time, working in paradise. So, we got to live literally in paradise.
Absolutely. Now it's gorgeous up there too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Even in the winter, it's fantastic. And so that started kind of that journey. Now I'm working for the park system. Worked there a couple of years. Well, and now we're thinking another child, maybe looking at full-time. There was a early retirement offer coming through the state. And so that was going to also create some opportunities. And there was openings over at the Porcupine Mountains that were full-time. And so I was able to get one of those positions. So
a couple things. I want to just step in here because, so for those that don't know, what does a ranger actually do?
Everything.
So just everything.
I really, the job description is depending on what park you're at, but most of the northern parks, in the northern, I say like north of like 46, you have to do pretty much everything. You're the janitor, you're the law enforcement, you're the lawnmower. You are a jack of all trades.
It's park administration, maintenance, everything across the board.
There's park supervisors and managers, that run the administration of the park. But as far as boots on the ground, out doing a lot of the work, working with the summer help to make sure that things are getting done, that most of that is on the rangers that are out in the field.
Okay. All right. That helps a lot there. And Porcupine Mountains, where are those for folks that don't know?
That is just south of Ontonagon, western. Okay. So yeah, cross the bridge, turn left, and drive 5 hours.
That's actually how
half the park is in the central time zone, or about the western third is in the central time zone, and the eastern half is in the eastern time zone.
Okay, so that for folks that know, they probably got it right. They can picture that pretty easily on that point. So
almost to the point.
Yep, almost there.
Almost there.
Got it. So so we're getting right into the next break here, yep. And so we'll pick up at the Porcupine Mountains when we come back. So, but no, I'll tell you that, and that's another spot though too. And again, it just seems that the right people seem to find the right positions for those folks, because again, Ray, you're also teaching during that too, like it's because you're interacting with the public and doing stuff constantly all the time, and then with the summer help, you're in a place where you're training them all the time. So I can see where that would be a good fit for you, where you'd have that. So again, you're listening to Leading West Michigan on 102.7 WMOM, at home on your Amazon Alexa or Google Home smart devices, streaming online at WMOM.FM, and live video streams on the 102.7 WMOM Facebook page and WMOM YouTube channel. So let's get into the next break, and we come back, get to hear about some time over the Porcupine Mountains.
Want to look stylish for a fraction of the price? You're in luck, because the Cedar Chest Consignment Shop in downtown Ludington is having a bag sale this Saturday. You can completely fill up a bag for only $10. What a steal. Convenient for your schedule, because we're open from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. That's pretty much all day. Don't miss out on those items you've been eyeing, because this Saturday is the time to shop. Come on in and see us. Conveniently located right on Ludington Avenue. We have you covered, literally. Dress your best for less at the Cedar Chest.
Snyder's Shoes, where customer service isn't just a commitment, it's a legacy. Snyder's Shoes is excited to share some fantastic news with you. Snyder's Shoes has not just won the Gold Medal Service Award for outstanding customer service from Footwear Insight once, but now, incredibly, twice. That's right. The commitment to excellence has been recognized by secret shoppers who's rated Snyder's Shoes performance. With 85 years in business, Snyder's Shoes has stood the test of time. Many things have changed over the past 3 generations of Snyder's, but one thing remains constant. Snyder's Shoes' dedicated and hard-working team, from the sales team to the merchandise buyers, from the behind-the-scenes staff to store and office managers. Snyder's Shoes has been putting in their all. Shop at Snyder's Shoes, where customer service is not just a commitment, it's a heritage. Come and experience 85 years of exceptional service in downtown Ludington and downtown Manistee. And thank you for making Snyder's Shoes your choice for quality footwear and outstanding service. Snyder's Shoes, stepping into excellence for 85 years and counting.
Welcome to the ultimate flavor experience at El Rancho, where every bite is a reason to celebrate. The rich tradition of El Rancho's Rancho Bowl. Indulge your senses in the vibrant flavors of the Burrito Loco, or take your taste buds to new heights with the irresistibly delicious Super Rancho. Sundays become extra special with an incredible 30% off on house margaritas, the perfect way to elevate your week's end or start anew. Treat yourself to daily food and drink specials that promise a delightful dance for your taste buds. As you sip on the ultimate margarita, savor the complimentary chips and salsa, a true symphony of flavors that will leave you wanting more. Birthdays are transformed into unforgettable celebrations at El Rancho. Take a shot and brace yourself for the sweet surprise of free ice cream, all while the dedicated servers serenade you in celebration. Join El Rancho Sunday through Thursday from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and extend the fiesta into the night on Fridays and Saturdays from 11 a.m. until 10 p.m. Indulge, rejoice, and let El Rancho add the perfect spice to your life. Located on the north side of US 10 in Ludington.
It's Leading West Michigan, and we're back with your host, Ryan Howe, on 102.7 WMOM.
Welcome back. Again, before the break, we were just heading towards the Porcupine Mountains here with Jimmy Newkirk, the Scottville City Manager. And so what happened there, and what did that look like as far as your time there?
That was pretty much culture shock.
In what way?
It was just a lot bigger park. I mean, it's the largest park, 60,000 acres. Tequama's second, but a lot of Tequama isn't anywhere near as accessible. Mm-hmm. And so to have, a limited staff of about 10 rangers in the field, spread out over that kind of distance, just the size and scope, You've got, some real lowlands. You've got, obviously the mountains, and also the ski hill is there, Lake of the Clouds, the Presque Isle waterfalls, and that are 26 miles away, but still within the park. It just size and scope was far, far different from anything I'd worked with. Ludington's extremely busy. It's all people, but even though it's, over 5,000 acres, it's all concentrated in the center for the most part, the majority of the people. And Silver Lake is a huge rush. You get the ORV area, but it's a different type of adrenaline rush for everybody. But there you get, everybody is spread out. They all have their favorite spots to go. There's over 90 miles of trails. So, miles and miles of shoreline that are difficult to access. So the scope and responsibility was far different than anything I'd experienced.
Yeah, to use a terrible pun, that's an awful lot of ground to cover.
It is.
For basically 20 folks like that. So, but again, culture shock, but I imagine you probably learned an awful lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was fortunate enough that when I started, there were still some of the older rangers that had been there 20, 30 years. And I learned an immense amount of, knowledge and that gained from them, and why things kind of were done the way they were. To respect kind of that tradition, and there was a lot of history and love from those guys. And so, we wanted to honor that and carry that forward. And so, there was a little different kind of level of respect for your peers. And then when they left and new people came in, it was, there was a couple of us that had been able to bridge those generations, I guess, sort of, and really kind of keep that spirit going. It was a great place. But there was still, my parents had started to experience some health difficulties. And so I kind of was starting to look to be closer to home. And so after about 8 years there, had an opportunity to promote down to Harrisville State Park on Lake Huron, north of Oscoda. So I came there for a couple years. And then while I was there, my mom was in hospice care after 2 strokes, in the mid-90s. And then, breast cancer, 3rd time. She was in hospice care, and my dad was going through chemo with pancreatic cancer at the same time. And I just needed to be home.
And so what did that look like for you as far as being home?
I was kind of looking, but I really didn't know what I was looking for. Just an opportunity where, I needed to keep the same, wage rate, and be here. While I was at Harrisville, was divorced, and my ex and kids wanted to move back to Ludington. Her parents are here, so to be closer to Grandma and Grandpa's. And so it was just, everything was kind of coming back home.
Okay.
And so I really didn't have a plan and say, you know what I'm doing? I'm coming home to be the Scottville City Manager. That wasn't the plan. But when the offer came, and I was like, oh man, that's kind of interesting.
How'd that come about?
I just saw the ad, and, made a couple phone calls to people I knew, still in the area that would kind of have a little inside knowledge as to what was going on. And after talking with them, they gave me really positive thoughts. Like, yeah, you need to do this. And, the thought from them that I hadn't thought of was, because my family's been here so long, there's some name recognition. I think we're 5 or 6 generations, through my grandma's side in Mason County now. And be able to bridge some of those older Scottville names and people that have that family recognition, but also bring some newer ideas, be able to, being in education and involved with youth for so long, also be able to link some of those people that are now young adults and are starting families and things, and be able to bridge gaps or generational gaps in Scottville to kind of start things and bring a new fresh look.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the point, that the fresh look on that too, because I'm a boomerang myself. I left for 25 years. How long total were you gone?
About 18.
About 18. And that's one of the things that when we talk about folks here, if you want to leave and get some experience, but when you come back, you're going to be able to we're going to be able to find a spot for you more than likely, and you'll be able to live in a great place and have a again, an outsized impact that you would have doing the same work in another location.
Yeah.
And, again, the experience that you had, obviously, again, being your work as a ranger, but also, obviously there's governmental stuff you had to deal with there for sure, and then also obviously in education, so you get the communication pieces squared away for you. So to be able to come back and land there, again, have that offer come through. So what is the interview process like, I guess?
The interview was in front of the city commission.
Okay.
So the Optimus Hall was still open at that time. It was, April, late March, April of 21.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're still dealing with some COVID protocols. So everybody was in the Optimus Hall and spread out. And it was pretty much just, going around the table, asking questions, and, what they asked the questions they wanted to ask.
Mm-hmm.
And I answered. There was only 3 candidates, so had pretty good odds to begin with. Just given, that I'd worked in government and I'd taught government, but also as the park career, it's like I'd used a lot of that equipment that, the DPW has used.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Had to go through safety trainings for all that. And, I've gotten to drive and use some pretty cool equipment, the Porkies especially, so I knew enough in all those general areas where, it wasn't going to be, a cold start. It was like, I already know a lot of what's going on here. I was here when Scottville started to decline.
Mm-hmm.
I was here when they built the bypass, and I'd never really bought into that because the freeway went around Hart and Shelby, and they're doing fine. But it's my hometown, and so I was hoping that by coming back, kind of get a little, insert a little fresh energy to some people and move on and get stuff going.
So you've been hired, and now it's your first few days there. What was that like?
It was mostly just getting touch and base with people in town that either had been on the city commission before, had been around, that knew what was going on, where they felt some of the larger problems were, what should be addressed first. So it was just a lot of intake of information. Really not doing a whole. I mean, the city had been functioning and rolling along, and so it wasn't like I wanted to come in and just hit the brakes and go in a different direction suddenly. It was, you got to get your feet underneath you and figure out who does what, where they're doing it, what's reasons behind the way things are done. And it took several months just to kind of find out, okay, this is the way things are going, so you can start to find those places where you can start to make efficiencies or increase efficiencies and make changes and be more productive.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, for anyone listening out there that is thinking about moving into a leadership position, about to enter one, that is exactly what you want to do. Take time and just say, hey, this place was operating before you got there.
Yeah.
Just take a moment, breathe in what's going on. You're going to get some education about the decisions that were made prior, why they're being done a certain way. And it also gives you a chance to match up data against what everyone's been telling you too.
Right.
Because again, it's not a bad thing, but everyone's got their opinions about how things should be and the way things should be done. But we're only operating off of our own interpretation and our own personal biases. And it's just the way we are. It's not a condemnation, but when you come into a leadership position, you got to listen to everybody and then weigh those facts accordingly. Right. So, and it seems you did just that. So with that, we're getting ready to head into our final break. When we get back, hear more about what's going on in Scottville, some about the team. I'm looking forward to that. So you're listening to Leading West Michigan on 102.7 WMOM, at home on your Amazon Alexa or Google Home smart devices, streaming online at WMOM.FM, and live video streams on the 102.7 WMOM Facebook page and WMOM YouTube channel. So let's get into that final break, and when we get back, get to hear about what's happening now and next in Scottville.
Do you enjoy refunds on ATM withdrawal fees, building savings automatically, no monthly maintenance fees, and free digital banking? Well, Safe Harbor Credit Union offers a free checking account that pays 5% APY on balances up to $15,000. You can open your account within minutes. Innovative checking built on traditional values. Free Kasasa Cash rewards you for supporting your community. Some key features include high dividends, refunds on ATM withdrawal fees, no monthly maintenance fees, and no minimum balance requirements. To learn more, check out our website at safeharborcu.org or come visit us at our office at 5511 US 10. Member, owner, neighbor. Here, we're one and the same. Safe Harbor Credit Union.
Aaron Doan here. I have some exciting news. State Farm Insurance is here to change the game with unbeatable insurance bundles. Save big, simplify life. Imagine one agent, one bill, and an average savings of over $1,073 a year. Auto and home, auto and condo, auto and renters. Bundles made just for you. Contact Aaron Doan State Farm Insurance today at 231-757-3115. That's 231-757-3115. State Farm, for over 100 years of trusted expertise. Why settle for ordinary? Bundle with the best and enjoy savings and protection. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Ladies, get ready for the ultimate night of fun and fabulous finds at Yada Yada Resale. It's the event of the season, Women's Night Out. Mark your calendars for Thursday, March 7th from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Trust us, you won't want to miss this. Shop till you drop with a fantastic 20% off store-wide. Satisfy your sweet tooth with free Britters pastries because a shopping spree is always better with a tasty treat. And for the fashion-forward early birds, snag a free custom tote bag. The first 50 customers will leave with a chic tote, the perfect accessory for your fabulous finds. But the excitement doesn't end there. Win big with our door prizes. You could walk away with something extraordinary. Engage in lively games with fun prizes, including goodies from downtown favorites like Sister Bees and Red Rooster. Gather your girlfriends, mark your calendars, and join us for the Women's Night Out on March 7th at Yada Yada Resale.
Hey, it's Josh from Metro Mortgage. Are you considering building your own home due to the limited housing inventory? Or has building your own home always been a goal? Look no further. Our construction loan at Metro Mortgage is customized to fit your needs while focusing on efficiency. Enjoy benefits such as unlimited draws, no per draw fee, interest payments on only what you draw, low closing costs, and best of all, we support self-builds. Yes, you can build your own home or be the general contractor as long as you have the necessary skills and experience. Contact us today at 231-425-5555. That's 231-425-5555. Metro Mortgage is a division of Mortgage One Inc., NMLS 129386, and equal housing lender.
It's another way to increase the awareness of your events and happenings. It's Mom's Fridge Magnets, presented by Watson Motors, West Michigan CMH, McGee Insurance, and Lakeshore Automotive and Tire. Another fridge magnet comes your way next.
Swift service, unmatched expertise. Watson Motors Service Department is your go-to for top-tier care. Drive hassle-free. Choose Watson Motors for excellence in every detail. Discover the difference with Watson Motors.
Have you ever hit a pothole so hard that you apologize to your car? Yeah, we've all been there. Did you know Lakeshore Automotive and Tire can align your vehicle and send you down the road in confidence? With state-of-the-art equipment, we make sure your vehicle is in tip-top shape. So stop by today and let one of our 4 master mechanics take care of you.
Wednesday, March 6th, Mason Oceana Great Start Collaborative will have a free play and learn at the Walkerville Wesleyan Church. This playtime will be from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and also for young children to babies. If your group or nonprofit organization has an announcement that you would like others to know about, reach out to us and we'll add it for free to the Fridge Magnet program thanks to Lakeshore Automotive and Tire, McGee Insurance, West Michigan, CMH, and Watson Motors.
It's Leading West Michigan, and we're back with your host, Ryan Howe, on 102.7 WMOM.
All right, so welcome back. Again, I'm Ryan Howe, and we are on to our final segment here on Leading West Michigan with Jimmy Newkirk, the Scottville City Manager. And again, when we left, we were just getting on, you got in and, settled in, and now you got your feet underneath you. So what were some of the things you had to deal with, like over, between coming on board and then now where you're currently at?
Well, with, right off the bat, there, had been, the turmoil with the year prior to me coming in. And so really I just wanted to try to settle some of the dust and get some little wins under our belt before, making any big changes or doing a whole lot of big sweeping changes. And so, given that, I kind of came in at the same time, there was already some investment coming. There were already people looking to purchase buildings and make investment. And so I knew there wasn't anything I came in and like, oh, I'm here and I'm doing this, and it was already happening. So anybody that stepped in at that time would have been in the same position. And it was nice because those early investors and those people that are putting work into some of the buildings and things, they're all Scottville natives. They graduated from Scottville. They're in the same type of situation I am, where they want to make the city better and they're willing to step up and put their money into it. And, as that started to grow a little bit, word spread, it wasn't about a year and a half. We started looking at some of the ordinance and some of making the changes and what can we do differently in Scottville that is going to bring business. And, some of that was, taking a look at, our cannabis law, and, we were able to change that. And that's brought, renewed interest. And also we changed downtown parking. Looking back at some of the archives over the, discussions and things that took place when that was talked about before, very little resistance this time, but the businesses had changed. There were different people. Yeah. It's not as busy, but the sidewalks had widened. So it was dangerous. There were, longer vehicles sticking out into the roadway. You couldn't pass.
Yeah, the average truck is almost to the median.
But it's also a truck route. So you can't close it to agricultural traffic. It's the only bridge across the river, in Scottville. So, some of those changes that maybe 20 years ago would have been difficult to do weren't anywhere near as difficult now. And so there was some luck involved, obviously. But as, the population grows, and especially in Ludington, we're a bedroom community of Ludington. And, I've always thought you need to just accept that. That's what we are. We're going to house the people who come to Ludington to work in the factories. We're not going to draw some big manufacturing plant. We don't have any property, and so there isn't the size or scope that we can handle, but there's room for houses. There's vacant lots. There's empty houses. There's rentals, so we need to be what we are and start working toward identifying what we can do to maximize what people want in town, where they need to be. And so that's naturally just sort of started to progress some of the businesses, the Dollar General Market has been a huge.
That thing is packed.
Yeah. All the time.
Day.
All the time.
Yep.
And, I was around when the first Dollar General came in, and it was kind of promoted like, oh, there's a national retailer coming to Scottville. And then it was Dollar General, and everybody went, really? I was, thanks. But, that's not what it was kind of built up to be. And there wasn't as much of that this time, but it was still a Dollar General. But knowing what I knew and talking with the developers and going to visit one in North Muskegon, that's going to be a huge success because that is the perfect niche for Scottville. Mm-hmm. Is it a grocery store? It's like a 3/4 grocery store. But it has everything you will need that if you don't want to drive or leave town. So if you're coming from the eastern half of the county or the southern half of the county, it's got what you need. You may not be able to do a full grocery shop there, but you can get everything else you need outside of it.
Your seasonal folks that are in the campground,
yep,
they can just come up, got what they need.
Top of the hill.
Yep,
it's right there.
Right there, they got it. So, and I remember when they said that that market was coming in, I was like, they're going to do great. Didn't need to even give it two seconds of thought.
Nope.
So, and that's good to see. Obviously over in Custer, we're seeing what's going on in Scottville too. And yeah, that's really great because again, when I was growing up, obviously, the full downtown with everything that was happening there. But that transition is just going to be part of what's going to happen. So, who works with you at the city? What's that?
So the treasurer's Kathy Schaefer, clerk is Kelsey Lester. Our interim police chief's Katrina Skinner. We just hired Captain Steve from Ludington after he retired, and same three guys at the DPW: Justin, Mark, and Ricky. I've been there all of them have been there for years now. Mark's 23 years, I think. So we got a pretty good, nice mix of newer employees and, some more tenured ones that have been around for a little bit that you can still rely on to go and say, all right, why is this done this way? What can you share with me and why? Because you don't want to reinvent the wheel if you don't have to. And if there was some reason something was done a certain way, I want to know, and maybe we'll try to change it. Maybe we won't. but you need to know what that background information is. So it's a good mix.
Yeah, no, and it's, again, my mom obviously worked at the, she was there at the City Hall for 25 years. And so I got to spend a lot of time there, stopping and seeing her and Amy Williams, whenever I come back from the military on leave. And yeah, just the change has been happening, but there is definitely a different vibe in Scottville right now. You can see it, what's going on. So what do you see coming up in the next, let's say, I don't know, 9 to 12 months? What do you see as far as happening there in Scottville?
Hopefully, if you pull up the real estate ads, there's never more than a couple houses for sale right now. And the property values are far above what they were even 3 or 4 years ago. And that's all a positive for us. But also the people that are buying those homes, they're still putting money into them. They're not buying them and keeping them looking the say they are. They're making improvements, and some of them have significant improvements. I think there's 5 brand new homes being built out in Sweetwater on the northeast corner of town.
Yeah, I know where. Yep.
And I got a call the other day from the developer that built the new Dollar General Market saying, "What else do you have?"
That's a good news story right there.
Where can I come do something? And when's the last time that's happened in Scottville? As people are calling saying, what can I bring? What can I do? Find me some property. And, I didn't have a great answer for him because there's I only have city property and there isn't a whole lot. But, I said, you know what? I pulled up the tax map and start writing down some addresses and names of vacant land that are just outside the city. And I'm going to send them to him. And it's like, and if he can swing some deal, the gas station that was just put up at the bypass, it's not in the city limits, but that's going to benefit Scottville because that's more people to stop. If you get somebody to stop, and the DDA is going to try to put out some directional signs and some advertising out toward the city limits by McPhail and other city limits. You get somebody to stop at the gas station. It's like, oh, hey, maybe I want to grab a bite to eat while we're stopping, while we're here. There's like 40,000 plus cars that go through Scottville every day.
Yes, there are.
It's an incredible amount of traffic. Yeah. And you get a small percentage of those to stop, whether it's for coffee with the coffee shop coming in or the food truck or one of the restaurants downtown or, when the cannabis place opens or anything, there's a new life, there's a new vibe in town. I know there's work that's going to start at the Stallion Mill shortly, and that's going to be good. So there's just lots of good stuff coming.
No, yeah, and that's stuff that I think everyone wants to hear. We want to have a vibrant area here again for people to live, work, and play. Right. That's been the thing consistently we want to have, and we can't East of Styles. We can't just look at Ludington and figure it out. No. We've got to take care of our side of there too. I'm from Custer again, so that's why I'm saying we. Yeah. I'm on the east side of Styles area. We got to do our part too as well to give people compelling reason to head that direction or to stop in as well on those arterials. So, but that about does us for today here. So again, thank you, Jimmy, for coming out here. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's been great hearing about it, and I feel confident Scottville's in good hands with your stewardship. It would be great. So, for those who aren't following Summit Business Guides on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, you're missing out on a lot of the information I share with my clients. I'm easy to find. Just search for Summit Business Guides and click that subscribe button. You'll be glad you did. Also, be sure to connect with me personally on LinkedIn, and if you'd like to connect for a deeper conversation about how I might be able to help you, send me a note at ryan@summitbusinessguides.com. Now, I'm always looking for new leaders to have on this program and give them an opportunity to share their stories. If you know a leader making an impact, go to summitbusinessguides.com/Leading West Michigan and submit their name for consideration. Next week, Dr. Kyle Corlett, the Ludington Area School District Superintendent, joins me to discuss his journey to becoming a West Michigan leader.
You've been listening to Leading West Michigan with Ryan Howe, a weekly program where you hear success stories of local officials and business leaders.